Hi, I'm Jeremy Crosby.
And I'm Nick Boucher. We're the hosts for the program that's all about your city, Talking Fitchburg.
Every day, we pull together the news, events, and information you need to stay on top of what's happening in the city of Fitchburg.
Find Talking Fitchburg on cable TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, Apple TV, and our live stream on the web. Plus, you can view all our headlines and stories on Facebook, YouTube, and our video on demand service. This is your city.
Keep up with Talking Fitchburg and the issues that affect you and your neighbors.
Want to know what's happening in your city? Get Notify Me messages from the City of Fitchburg. Visit fitchburgwi.gov on your computer or mobile device and select the big Notify Me button on the left. Enter your email and/or phone number, whichever is best for you to get notifications. Scroll down the list and select all the topics you're interested in to receive email or text messages about. You'll be notified every time one of your topics is updated. Sign up for Notify Me, one more way to keep up with your Fitchburg government.
Hello, I call to order the meeting of the Finance Committee on October 1st at 6:01 p.m. This is a special meeting of the Finance Committee to discuss the budget and have departments give presentations on their budgets. First item of business is public appearances for non-agenda items. I don't believe we have anyone in chambers or online. Next item is the start of department presentations, and we're going to start with budget document logistics. Misty Dodge.
Thank you. So I'm not going to talk much about what specifically is included in the budget. We'll leave that to the mayor, but wanted to share some logistics about how to find the document, how to best navigate the document, and all of that. So to find it in the packet tonight, there is a link included in there that will get you straight to the page I'm going to send you to. Otherwise, if you go to the city's main page and then under government and then finance, click on that. And then go to the financial records and reports page. It's this top link right here, the 2025 mayor's proposed budget. So this is a PDF. So the easiest to do would be to download it, and then the bookmarks are just a little bit easier to use. But if you don't want to do that and just want to use it live in the web page, that's an option too. The bookmarks are over here, at least in my version of internet. So if you do this button and then change it to the bookmarks, you can use this to navigate everywhere. So it starts with kind of an introduction with a lot of different summaries and things like that. Then you get into the numbers. So yes, this is a lot of very small numbers that are on here, but this is where all of the numbers live if you wanted to see everything in once. And I'll remind you that you can zoom in and out. So sometimes that's helpful in an electronic version. The part of the document we'll be actually following today and tomorrow is the department details section. So each one of the departments has at least one, if not multiple, executive summaries that introduce their budget requests and kind of their department as a whole. That's really what we'll be focusing on over the meeting. There is a lot more information in here for people that are interested, but we'll really focus tonight on the accomplishments for 2024, the initiatives for 2025, and then the significant changes for the budget. Each one of those departments is got its own bookmark, and then you'll see there's some departments that have multiple divisions within them. Each one of those divisions then have their own executive summary. So use these bookmarks to get to all the different executive summaries that are available in the document. So the other thing in here is for personnel requests. So we did it a little bit differently this year. So for 2025, at the top of the book, you will see there's non-referendum positions. These include one new position for the hub custodian that was discussed last year's budget time. And then there's the ladders and career progressions and reclassifications that are on here. There's a separate page, 26, which is just the positions that are included in the referendum request. At this point, none of the items in here are included in the mayor's budget. They will get added by omnibus amendment at the end of the process if the referendum is approved. And then we wanted to still give departments a chance to identify all of the future positions from 2026 to 2029. Those will not be discussed tonight, but they are included in the book starting on page 402. So you can see the summary of them here, and then there's the page for each one of them. So those are kind of the future ideas, just to put them on your radar, but we will not be discussing those tonight either. Back at the top of the book, so we do have some summaries included in here. Anything that's purple is an estimated amount at this point. The big thing that we don't know is our total assessed value. Board of Review is complete, but manufacturing, which is done by the state, has not yet equated their values. So these are all based on my estimates, which should be at least pretty close in the ballpark to what the final amounts are. But all of those purple amounts are estimates at this point. Levy limits. So that is on page 20. You can see with this mayor's proposed budget, we have $637 remaining in levy limit capacity. A big thing there, though, is it does assume that all 3 municipalities will pass the required resolution for the Fitchburg EMS adjustment. So that is assumed that that will be approved, and then that leaves that $637. Expenditure restraint is another item. So that's the next page, page 21. Last year was a base recalculation. So as of right now, we've got just about 3.5 million in capacity there. If the referendum is approved, all of that will be used up by the referendum, plus we'll need a little bit more. We will put through an omnibus amendment to adjust plus or minus, depending on what happens with the referendum, to make sure that we qualify for expenditure restraint, but also retain as much of that capacity as we can. So it's the same strategy we've done for multiple years now. Other than that, so for the new proposals again, so I showed you that summary. Another way to kind of think about them is in the actual proposal itself. So the reclassifications and ladders are letters, and anything that's a new position for the current year is a number. And then in red font at the top of it, you can see whether or not that is included in the mayor's proposed budget. So in this example, this is one of those additional firefighters that's included in the referendum. So at this point, it is not included in the mayor's budget. It's contingent upon the referendum. But if you go to one of these reclassifications of a firefighter to a lieutenant, that is included in the mayor's proposed budget. So you can see it says that up at the top there too. So lots of different ways to try to see what is and what is not included. I know it's a lot of information though. So with that, I will ask if there's any logistic questions.
Dave, go ahead.
When are amendments due again?
Yep, amendments are due on the 10th. So next week, Thursday at 4:30. Please use the form that I emailed out, and it needs to be in its final version at 4:30. So not just a draft.
Thank you.
Looks like no other questions. You want to continue?
So then I have the mayor's presentation if we want to kick it over to her.
Wonderful. So next up on our agenda is introduction by Mayor Julia Ratapata. Take it away.
Thank you. Misty, can you? Okay, thank you everyone for the opportunity to present my second budget. One of the things that I want to mention is that this budget was totally different the way we did last year. So we try to be mindful of the referendum. And also we had to make, we made a lot of cuts, okay? In order to balance the budget and also to have a rate that is comparable to inflation. So the 2025 proposed budget overview is, my approach was to present a budget that is financially prudent and aligns with the average year-to-date inflation rate. The first draft that I received was around 5.3%, something like that, and then we reduced it to 3.3, isn't it? Kind of like that, okay. So as Misty mentioned, there is no newly identified staff position was incorporated into this budget. What we did was a couple of reclassification. I think the fire department asked for 4 reclassification of lieutenants. I approved only 2 for this budget. And also we remember that last year we, for the half custodian, it was part of the last year budget that we create that capacity, but it's, you know, is going to hit 2025 because the hub is going to be opening in summer of 2025. So most of the other reclassification were three other ones. One is in assessing department, inspection, and engineer. So they are a small reclassification. So on every other staffing position will depend on the referendum results. You know, I mean, as we have 14 other positions that they are, part of the referendum. The 2025 balanced budget incorporated a prudent fiscal strategy. So we try to present to you a very lean budget. When head of department started working in this process, it was mentioned to them that please go to your budget, try to, review carefully, try not to incorporate, if you are going to incorporate something new that you need, it has to be a really specific need. So the net new construction levy for this budget was around $760,000. That is one is equivalent to $170 million in new net construction. That is equal to 2.9%. So most of you will ask, okay, what happened with that levy in capacity? As you know, we receive a lot of increases in our health insurance, dental. We had to add more, 1% more in the retirement fund for the employees, and then the other inflation cost. Practically what we are trying to present you is a balance that doesn't have too much new expenditure. Usually we use all that levy capacity to absorb inflationary cost by personnel, supplies, material, and any other thing. So for the 2024 balance project, so estimated at December 31st, 2024, will be almost $13 million close and equal to a 24.51% as a percentage of the 2025 budgeted expenditure. So our range is between 15 and 25%. Should be our range, and we are, almost there. So the fund balance is okay. So what was my major priority for this year? There were only three things. One, it was supporting our employees. For me, retention and appreciation of our staff is number one. I want to be an employer of choice. And for that, I am incorporating in this budget a 2% COLA, and also keep all the employee benefit intact, because we receive a lot of increases in our benefit, but I decided that I don't want to touch those benefits. I want the capacity in the budget to absorb those costs, and retention is key. I think we are, if we want to continue to serve our community, we need to have, happy employees, good retention, because, if we start losing some of our key employees or any employee, is an additional cost to the organization. Investing in modernization, it uses technology to modernize City Hall. So to better serve our residents, I would like to use more technology in City Hall. This includes upgrading systems to improve efficiency and streamline services, making it easy for residents to access to information, complete transactions, and interact with city departments. So you can read more about this in my letter. And then my biggest priority was to keep taxes a great value for our taxpayers. So I am presenting here a budget that is budget conscious, The levy increase is going to be 3.31%, and the average inflation rate for this year to date is about 3.11%. The assessed value tax rate is projected to decrease in 2025 to 5.8%. and the impact on taxpayer will remain comparable to 2024. So it's not going to be a big jump in taxes, even though it was a revaluation in the assessed value of the home, but the impact is going to be higher because we have that decrease in the value tax rate, assessed value tax rate. So here I would like to see how we compare the net new construction in the last couple of budgets. So you can see in 2020 up to 25 is the net new construction levy increase at the bottom of the table. You know that 2020 was 668. Our best year was on 2022, $1 million, and then it started decreasing up to 2025. It was 760,000. Okay, so this is an idea how our net new construction levy has increased during the years, but also decreased in the last 3 years. The general budget fund. I want to show you how compare the 2024 adopted budget to the 2025 proposed budget. The total revenues and other finance sources, you look, compare is very comparable to last year. It's an increase of 0.55%. So the overall increase is, a relatively stable number. And you look how we are expending that revenue. Personal cost is taking almost, a big chunk of the money, $21 million, and that includes, not only wages, but also it's included there, benefits, retirement, and everything else. So you will see that one had a big jump, almost $1 million. But also we need to remember that we are including here a 2% COLA and also all the inflation costs that we receive from personnel cost. Contractual services also, there was a slight increase, and then the other finances uses, went down $1 million. I am assuming that one is we are not paying debt, kind of like that, yeah. We are doing some, transfer or loans or use of reserve in 2025.
Yep, that's that expenditure restraint strategy.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, and next one. That one I would like to, as Misty mentioned, everything in purple or pink or whatever it is in your screen is estimated, and you can see the tax levy for city purpose, excluding TID, is about 3.31%. In 2024, it was 7.36%. So this is a big, a huge decrease. And also you can compare there for single family on how it's going to affect an average apartment. So those values. So if you compare for an average single family, compare 2024 with 2025, in an average home, the impact will be for 2025 $86, compared to last year it was $21. So what I want to mention here is that while the tax rate is decreasing significantly in 2025, the increase in assessed property value will lead to a minor increase in the total taxes paid for an average single-family home. In the case of an apartment, it's going to be a decrease. Okay. So here is an example that I did with the average home assessed value in 2024 for $457,000. I'm going to use the proposed budget tax rate, 5.8. Annual for an annual tax impact in a home, it will be $2,655, monthly $21, and weekly $51. And the other thing that we need to mention is that the additional charges for recycling will be the same, like $232 is going to be the same as 2024. And this is a couple of graphs that you're going to find also in your budget, in the packet. that illustrate, how those levy fund expenditure by type. As we know, public safety always take almost 40% of our expenditure by fund. Next one. The allocation by class. Here is how we use the general fund by class. Personnel expenses almost 69%. It makes sense because we are a service-oriented organization. How the other allocation with the different contractual services, other operating costs, and allocated cost. So about 69% is go to personnel. Not fine. And then the general fund revenue by type, is most of the money that we receive is coming from property taxes, 65%. And then you can see the other streamline of revenues from where we are receiving the rest of the revenue. So 70%, almost 18% is intergovernmental, and then you have the license and other taxes and public charges, So next step, the first public hearing is October 8th at the council meeting. Amendments are due October 10. Then we will discuss the amendment of the budget on October 23rd. And the second public hearing will be November 12th. And that night, we are going to adopt the 2025 budget. That's it. And I want to say thank you to everyone that helped me, especially Misty, and then the city administrator, deputy city administrator, and all the department heads. Thank you guys for all your help. I think what I am presenting to you is, I think it's a very comparable budget to last year, and a very, very prudent budget, because we are asking the taxpayer on November 5th to approve our referendum. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mayor. Dave? The question was what the mill rate was.
What's our mill rate this year?
Mm-hmm. So the tax bills that went out before was $6.72, and the proposed budget is estimated to be $5.80, and that's per thousand.
Yeah, this is what I mentioned. It was a decrease in the.
Yeah, and so that's on page 10 if people are interested.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I have to go to another meeting.
I do have a question, and this is for Misty. I'm curious about, so I know we took out some new debt this year, so the debt service I assume went up. But even with that, the percent increase of taxes is still rather minimal?
Correct. So the total tax levy increase was the 3.3% that the mayor mentioned. A big part of that is because of that additional debt that we did issue, yes.
Oh, wow. So even with the increase in personnel costs, the debt service, it still was pretty static?
Compared to inflation in particular, yes.
Wow. Yeah, it's impressive job with the budget. I know this was tricky, so pretty incredible that this is the draft we ended up with. Thank you for the work. Any other questions for Misty before we move on to department presentations? Great. So I think we can jump in. Our first department to present is going to be building inspection. Welcome.
Welcome, everybody. I think this is on screen, right?
Yes, you are. Okay. We can hear you.
You must control it back there. We run lean budgets. That's what we do. So I didn't bring my paper copy because Dina's gone in Italy, so I did have it. Pretty much right now, my budget is almost exactly the same as what I had last year. The only thing I kind of did forget when I said exactly, I got a ladder for my young inspector that I hired as he gets his 4 UDCs, which is 1 and 2 family certifications. We'd like to move him up we got inspectors 1, 2, and 3, move them up, do another level. But otherwise, I don't really know what to say. I mean, it is exactly the same as I submitted last year to this year. There's no new proposals, no new anything. So,
could you talk for a moment about your 2024 accomplishments and your 2025 initiatives?
Oh, sure. We can talk about that. So the accomplishments right now, the newer code inspector is working hard on his UDCs. The Southdale neighborhood, which I thought was going to be a huge influx of labor for us, we kind of went there when we initially got that and kind of got everybody on the same page at what we did in the city of Fitchburg. And I think they appreciated that just because they were kind of lost with the town of Madison for like 10 years. So that landlords and tenants and seem to be we're not getting a lot of calls of service over there. E-Plan is what we do for the commercial plan review. We make money on that every month. I think we made a whole $400 and some this month, but that is something that is beneficial to the contractors. I know a good example is the Spring Hill motel that's going up. The designer had a lot of different angles. They were very responsive with them. And, instead of taking 2-3 weeks to get it corrected, we got it corrected in probably 4 weeks or 4 days. So they're really good to work with. Several large complexes are always going on, it seems like. So that keeps us really busy. Kind of monotonous, the same thing, came boxes over and over. But a bunch of those planned and ready to go. And we worked in engineering. It seems like sometimes that falls through the cracks, like stormwater and stuff like that, so we're working better with them. The initiative this year is to get commercial certifications for the new inspector we got that's going to get his UDCs. We will be probably having a meeting with you folks on the Country View Mobile Home Park. So we got a chronic nuisance maybe there, and then continue to work with architects and contractors for the commercial plan review. And also, just one note, we'd like to work with the state a little bit more to update our code. We're working on a 6-year code cycle, and pretty soon it's going to be 9 years. So our code is in the state of Wisconsin. It's not really here. It's at the state level. Is not adopting this modern new technologies. So we're in the code and it changes. So we'll work on that. Increased fees for certain building permits, I just tweak them. We try to keep in line with everybody in the neighborhood, be it Madison, Verona, Middleton. And as I say, we added a ladder for the code enforcement officer to be up to an inspector 2 from a 1.
Wonderful. Questions from the committee or the council? Dave, go ahead.
Not necessarily a question, but a comment. I appreciate the setup you made to for the inspection or the approval. The efficiency that you put through. Was it last year or the year before that you got that incorporated?
E-Plan's been probably last year. It was like almost the beginning of last year.
All right.
So I think roughly we figured it would bring in about $8,000 to $10,000 plus revenue. Okay. It doesn't cost us a thing.
Yeah.
And they file all our paperwork. And now the biggest thing with them is they're going to start doing audits on commercial inspections through the state. They're going to handle all our audits.
Okay. So thank you I'm glad that's working out well. Please keep your focus. I represent the most poor people in the city.
Yep.
And those neighborhoods. And
yep. We know them well.
I need you to be vigilant. The first step of a good neighborhood is keeping it clean.
Yep.
And staying on. So I just ask you, Gabe's done a great job at that. Please maintain that vigilance. I'd rather see you do that than the new stuff. I know we have to have the growth, but we have to maintain and stay after the owners that aren't taking care of their property. So that's my only comment to you.
And that's absolutely right. I told Gabe we have 36,000 souls that we take care of.
Okay.
We don't prejudice towards any person or any neighborhood. We got 36,000 souls. So I pride ourselves on what we do. Sometimes it's hard babysitting them, but I think we picked it up in the last probably 2 years.
I agree.
It's really done well for us. But it's hard. It's not an easy thing to do, but
I know.
We're after it.
You know where I'm coming from.
Yep, I know. Exactly, Dave.
Thank you.
Exactly. But yeah, thank you for the comment.
Other questions? And I understand this is going to be your last budget department presentation?
Probably.
Well, it was great working with you, and thank you so much for leading a great department.
We haven't accepted anything yet. So it starts to be accepted, right?
When I stopped showing up, I think that the acceptance definitely was. I've been here 34 years, and I appreciate 34 years being here.
Thanks, Jen.
Yep, thank you.
Next up is planning and zoning with our plan director, Deanna Schmidt. Take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'll just talk a little bit about the accomplishments that we've done this year. We are moving towards completion of the 2 neighborhood plans, Greenfield and South Stoner Prairie. Things are moving along well. Things like these projects just take a little time. We are working on RFP for the city's comprehensive plan, and you'll see that for our notable initiatives for 2025, it will be the update for the comprehensive plan. We are working on, and we have at least our preliminary approval for the recertification of our farmland preservation zoning ordinance. That's going to be a bit more of a process, but we have our initial approval from the state. We are finishing up the Parks and Open Space Plan with the Parks Department. Hopefully have that to council here in a month or 2. And then we also did a presentation to the Capital Area Regional Plan Commission in spring to showcase some of our planning efforts here in the city of Fitchburg. So, yeah, big changes in the planning budget. We are requesting a small increase in the fee for a zoning letter. These are a pretty bread and butter kind of thing. When we receive a request for from usually an attorney or some other entity that needs an official zoning letter, that's what these are. And we're requesting an increase from $35 to $50 just to cover our staff costs and remain consistent with our neighboring communities. We are requesting some additional funds for public notices, actually quite a bit more. The public notices, as we continue to urbanize, this is increasingly becoming an additional cost. So for our conditional uses, our rezones, we have to do notification of all surrounding property owners. And as we urbanize, it's just becoming more costly to handle that. We're also requesting a little bit extra budget for public notices related to the comprehensive development plan. So, oh yes, sorry, and then an extra $10,000 for the comprehensive plan for as that moves through that process. So I think that's the summary of what we're asking.
And then Deanna, you also have sustainability in H&I?
I do.
And before we move on to that, do we have any questions about this portion of the presentation? Great, go ahead. Bill,
So,
go ahead.
that was, I mean, it's a small dollar amount, but it's quite a percentage jump for those public notices. Have we been running a deficit in recent years or something?
I think we're going to come up a little short this year, and the reason is we've had to change. Well, we're doing more public notices right now, but also we're urbanizing, and I don't know that I'm going to have a big deficit this year, but I think we could come up a little bit short, and we're also having to change how we are actually doing the notices. We're having to, because there's so many of them, we're doing postcards through a printer too. So
I see nothing further, so we can move on to sustainability, H&I.
okay, so the big news, and I think what we're really proud of, is the sustainability plan. Bill was able to come to the committee of the whole a bit ago to present the sustainability plan. We're putting on the final touches and hope to bring that to council for approval by the end of the year. Phase 2 of the Fitchburg B-Cycle program is drawing closer to coming to a close. We are continuing, and we will finish up Phase 2 of the Teen Center feasibility study. Hopefully, we will do a presentation to the Committee of the Whole on that feasibility study in November. We have released and prepared a request for proposal for the bike and pedestrian plan. We have selected MSA to conduct that study for us as our chosen consultant. We will be bringing forward the contract to council here shortly so we can get that underway. Bill has done a lot of work to get our solar panels and our solar collection system on our city's rooftops back into 100% operation. Great work there. We filled our community development program coordinator position on September 9th. Jessica Wolf started in that position. She's doing great and jumping in with both feet. We managed a total of 14 grants for the Healthy Neighborhoods grant program. Probably it is the most individual grants we have managed in the program in an annual cycle. Submitted 2 grant requests for congressional direct funding, one for the police station and then one for the teen center. And then we have supported Finance and Public Works Department in the development and for tax credits for the city's electric vehicle fleet. Notable for 2025, Jessica, our new Community Development Program Coordinator, will be working on the H&I Strategic Plan update. We will be assessing and implementing the results of the Teen Center Phase 2 feasibility study and looking at the potential of a Phase 3, depending on the direction from Council. We will begin implementation of the sustainability plan, complete the update of the bicycle and ped plan, begin planning for the renewal process for the city's bicycle-friendly community designation, and then we plan to continue awarding grant funds for the H&I program. So we have on top. We did add some additional funds in terms of budget changes for 2025 with a new staff person coming on in this department. We did add some additional membership dues, training, travel, operating supplies. We requested, and then it was decided to remove the $2,500 for B-Cycle passes. And then we added some additional funds for sustainability supplies for sustainability action. So education and outreach.
Can you talk about the rationale for removing the B-Cycle passes? Was it a difficult program to manage, or?
No, I think we have struggled to implement the project. We found a path forward in a collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club, but at this time we don't have a whole lot of data to show some significant results, and it was felt that at this point we need to have a little more time to assess the feasibility and benefits of that program.
Thank you. Other questions? Great. Seeing no questions, we can move on to the... Oh, is that all for the plan department, or? Okay, great. Yeah, Deanna, I literally am blown away by how much work your department has done this year. It is, it's pretty extraordinary, and that's one of my favorite things about this meeting is to just listen to all the things that were done this year from the departments and the incredible work that's done. So thank you for all your hard work. We're really excited to see what you guys bring next year. There's a lot of exciting things on the docket. All right, so next up we have our Economic Development Director, Mike Zimmerman with Economic Development.
Good evening.
Take it away.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide the economic development, community development, and then the housing budgets here. So first we'll start out with economic development and community development. Some of the accomplishment highlights are creation of TID number 18, which brings us some industrial land just north of Lacey Road. We're already getting some interest from industrial prospects, so we appreciated the support for that. That also led to the first project, which is Sub-Zero's headquarters and conference center that's going to go there. So we literally will be their global headquarters now here in Fitchburg, which we're really excited about. And then proud to say that working with our illustrious finance director and administration in the council, we got bumped up to AAA, a 30-year journey there, so that's something that we're really proud of. And then we connected some developers in Hartung Fields. You can see some significant construction over there. That's giving a boost to TID 14 construction without any TIF request there. So we're talking just valuation that'll generate increment going forward. And then we hired and onboarded our housing initiatives and program specialist, Lorene Gage, started in July, is off to a great start, hitting the ground running. So we're delighted to have her. And then we've been participating with our planning colleagues on those 2 neighborhood planning processes, trying to provide and lend support where it makes sense. Notable initiatives for 2025, we're going to have Lorene update some of the statistics and data in the housing plan, the 2019 housing plan. That'll be one of the top priorities. And then we'll continue to engage with Dane County on the regional housing strategies and where we align with initiatives going forward as we look at our programs and initiatives. And then in the second half of 25, we're also going to look to begin to update our City in Motion economic development strategic plan. That one's about 5 years old and in need of a refresh. Not a complete rewrite, but at least a refresh and an update on that one. And then we're excited that our next project to come in Uptown, we're working diligently with UW Health and LifePoint. So we'll have a 40-bed physical rehabilitation hospital that hopefully will break ground spring, summer of 2025. And then continuing to identify opportunities in the respective TID districts that we have along our 3 north-south corridors. Everything from some potential projects that we're in discussions with, as well as maybe some entrepreneurial small business development activity that we would bring forward to you. And then we're hoping, and we work with our planning colleagues and Public Works as well, we really want to get that quarry under redevelopment across from Super Target there, and we continue to work with Colburn Hundley, but it's a challenging economic environment right now to kind of get projects in the ground and make the numbers work there. So we're continuing to offer support and try and move them forward. Significant budget changes.
Hey, Mike?
Yes.
Where was the Fawcett property?
The Fawcett property, yes.
Fawcett, where is that?
That's the Cleanfill site, Dave, between Highway 14 and MM.
Okay.
And we had a developer for that property. Unfortunately, they relinquished their option on it. But I've been in communication with a broker here and just sent in the TID district and land information last week, and it seems like I'm piquing somebody's interest there. So I have to work to identify a new developer for that site. But keep your fingers crossed that we've got interest developing there.
I won't. I know what's buried in there. I don't think that's a good.
There's a lot of geotechnical analysis over there. You probably understand.
Barrels and concrete. I've ridden by there almost my whole adult life. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to get you off track.
And then the significant budget changes from 2024 to 25 would be just increase for memberships and training with the new housing initiatives and program specialists. Our room tax dollars kind of follow our projection for 2025. And then 70% of those dollars flow to our tourism partner, the Fitchburg Chamber Visitor Business Bureau. We renewed or reinstated the Buxton software. That's been getting us at least on the radar screen of some prospects. We're hoping we're going to get close to land one, but it's giving us some good data analytics that we can have some informed discussions with people to tell them why they should consider and locate here in Fitchburg. And then we've got a $600 membership possibly to be part of the postal membership organization. Joyce and I were at an all-day event on Thursday of last week as we continue to build those relationships to not only address kind of delivery issues that we've had here at City Hall and our businesses have had, but also to reestablish a postal contract unit station here somewhere in the Fish Hatchery Road corridor. And there's 2 sites under consideration, so we're making some progress. And then we've got some membership or I guess event dollars. I know the mayor would like us to be out and about a little bit more at some of these events for networking and collaboration. And so we just added additional capacity because sometimes these things come up and we don't have them in the budget. And then we're increasing kind of the cost for our business luncheon for 2025. Breaking news for you, the business luncheon this year is going to be December 12th. We just solidified that date. So Joyce will be sending you out a save the date tomorrow.
Did you choose that because it's my birthday?
What's that?
Did you choose that date because it's my birthday?
No, we didn't know that. Okay. Big party. And then on
Mike, I just wanted to one thing. So
Sure.
the hotel tax is going up, but I just wanted to make a point since we have some new alders that are going to watch this. A lot of the revenue, the expenditures are paid for by some of that hotel tax, right?
Oh, yes.
Because that's where a lot of the revenue comes from. Is that correct?
Yeah. The whole 225 budget, and there's a whole series of line items that I won't go through, but you can read at your leisure. That really funds a lot of our memberships, the marketing, the promotion, all of those kind of activities that helps to underwrite the portion of the business luncheon that isn't paid for by the people that are attending and everything. So that's a significant resource for it. It also helps to underwrite some of our salary allocation as well. We worked with Misty on that. So that's a tremendous resource.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing for people to know that that's the revenue source for much of this activity, which is great.
Yeah. So if I'm giving out a Fitchburg bag, it's not coming from property tax money. It's coming from room tax money.
Exactly.
People.
Bill?
And so I guess just to be clear, you explicitly said 70% of the room tax dollars go to the Fitchburg Chamber. The other 30% comes to us. There's no third portion of that, right?
The split of the 30%, 7% stays with administration and finance for the work that they do with us, processing and all the payments and things that we're spending dollars on. And then the balance is allocated by CETA and kind of through that 225 account that I was just referencing with those line items.
All right, I think we can move on. See more questions? Okay. Got community development next? Yes?
Yeah, I think I kind of covered that one. They go hand in hand. The
Perfect.
EDC, yeah.
Housing. Thank you. Housing is next.
Yes, then we've been working on, obviously, multiple housing programs. So we're excited with the launch of the Efficiency Navigator. I know we were just at the Committee of the Whole last week, and we're really delighted to see the level of interest that we're getting in that program. And if that continues, we'll probably dedicate even more dollars from the housing fund to go towards that, because that was one of our priorities in the housing plan. We want to continue to engage with you on the rent to own and hopefully at some point in time get to a decision to proceed with phase 2 that we think would answer more questions and concerns to see if that program, we want to proceed with a pilot program. And then we're continuing our due diligence with Ellers and our private sector partner at Bella Springs on a potential program market rate within, or workforce housing within market rate to do a pilot program there. And then there's a whole bunch of other initiatives that we're looking at, everything from collaborations with the Land Trust to Habitat, as well as working with the Mayor's Office on the land banking that was included in the budget for 2025. And then, of course, continued onboarding of the housing initiatives and program specialists there. Then in 2025, again, updating kind of the data and statistics in the housing plan. We're already doing, and Lorene's off to a great start engaging our multifamily complexes and regional housing partners, continuing to participate in the regional housing strategies, looking at other funding, and as we mentioned at the COW meeting, how can we leverage our dollars to attract additional dollars from other funding partners, including CDBG and maybe some other WIDA resources that might be out there, and also coordinating with our colleagues at the City of Madison on some grant applications that have gone in and working together on that. and then continued implementation of the Efficiency Navigator program. So under the significant budget changes, we added another 100,000. We're requesting that for the Efficiency Navigator because of the interest. And then we've got 63,000 for housing strategies. That would be for phase 2 of the rent to own if the council decides to give us a green light to continue on with phase 2.
Questions about housing? We got a good review recently, so yeah. Thank you so much for the great
Thanks
work
for
this
the
year.
opportunity.
Thank you so much. All right, so next up, we're going to have Jill with the Senior Center.
All right. All right, good evening, everybody. Let's see. After watching Mike's accomplishments, I didn't feel quite as good. Should have added more. We did just get accredited by the Wisconsin Association of Senior Centers. It was a reaccreditation actually, but we've been accredited for many years, but I think you all saw the letter that I sent out. We really are doing a good job of engaging clients in the apartments. I would say 50% luck in getting them to come to the senior center regularly, but we're case managing a lot more than these numbers reflect. So at least they're being introduced to the center through our social workers with the hopes of continuing to get them to the senior center for programs and services and building connections with the apartment managers. I have monthly meetings myself with the Highline management, and our social workers go to the apartments every single month to do programs, to do meet and greets and have office hours. So working on building those relationships. Trying to do better in the Allied Drive neighborhood. It definitely is a neighborhood that doesn't feel quite connected to us. We are kicking off indoor walking at the Boys and Girls Club very soon, which is pretty exciting because that's a neighborhood that could use some programs, and they've got a beautiful gym that's not used during the day. So we continue to work with them. We're also starting it's actually called a volunteer neighborhood navigator program. We're in the process of recruiting volunteers that will work with the senior center social workers for older adults and joining forces for families, for younger folks that are in need of housing, because searching for housing takes a lot of time, and we don't have that kind of time often to sit with people that don't have computers and to go through looking for housing and then also applying for housing. And thanks to our friends, they're giving us gift certificates because sometimes you have to pay $20, $25 just to do an application for housing. That's non-refundable, and a lot of folks don't have that. So we have a Visa card that we can use to pay for people's applications. So we are in the process of recruiting volunteers for that program and hope to kick it off, but we will be doing it at the Boys and Girls Club on Wednesdays. And then we did complete a SWOT analysis of our department early in the spring. And so that's my major ones. For 2025, diversified methods of volunteer recruitment as we try to diversify our programs and services. That kind of comes along with it. Continue to increase outreach and development of DEI initiatives. I think we're doing a good job. I'm seeing growth in that area, which is pretty exciting, but we still have a long way to go. Continue to explore transportation options. We were pretty close to applying for some 5810, 5310 monies for a van, and I was able to stall that until we have a plan in place, but the Commission on Aging is determined to put some kind of plan together. So we've met with Ben Lyman from the Madison Planning Organization, MPO, just to talk about shared ride taxi again and what that grant money looks like. We've talked to shared ride taxi providers. So we're just going to continue to explore and see where we end up next year. Still working through the inclusion toolkit with a multicultural group, which has been great, and lots of ideas coming out of that, new initiatives. And then develop an ambassador program, which we kind of started to do now because it just kind of came through that inclusion toolkit that we've been working through. And that's pretty exciting, sending out volunteers into the community at events to just extend our outreach efforts. So it's not just staff. And there's something really good about peer-to-peer versus me trying to promote somebody to come, although I'm almost to the age where it's peer-to-peer. So, I could be trained. But anyway, looking for people, all kind of people to be trained in that. So we're actually, Mandy's developing a program now. So that is that. Budget changes, not a whole lot. We're going to increase our newsletter advertising fee. We still solicit for ads in the newsletter. So we're going to just extend that fee, increase it a little. I increased our per diems for the Commission on Aging members because you just never know who's going to ask for reimbursement. And last year we had a little bit higher request, so I put that in there. I did remove the $1,000 to Oregon Adult Daycare, so that agreement goes back even before my time. And Oregon Adult Daycare, in the early days, they're still in existence, and they're a wonderful resource for folks in our area that need adult daycare services. And we were contributing money, some of it because they oftentimes, if there was 2 clients that needed a spot at the daycare, we might get priority because we gave a contribution if it was outside of Oregon or Fitchburg. They also did transportation. They lost that funding for transportation a couple years back. We usually have between 2 and 3 folks that go down to that adult daycare. It's on a sliding scale, which is wonderful, which is another reason. But I really feel like it's time that they look at the H&I funds, that maybe they can get more funding for that. So I did pull that from there. And then right now we are installing Facility Site, the people counter software that the library recently installed. It's something I looked at for a long time. We really struggle knowing how many people come through the doors because of the 2 entrances, and we don't have an office upstairs. And your number counting is only as good as, somebody watching somebody check in or check out. And so after I talked to Wendy, I thought this would really work well for us. So because I do have some legacy fund money that I can use, I am installing the software now and paying for the hardware out of that the donation of accounts, and then the yearly subscription would go into next year's budget at $360. But it really will give us a great snapshot of who's coming in the doors and when. And then I think we can really kind of look at, piece out, what times, is it after 4? Is it before 4? I mean, I think it will be beneficial to REC and the community center rentals as well, once we're able to pull a lot of different reports and really see how that building is used. So that's in there as well.
Wonderful. Questions? Jim?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you for continuing to work on the transportation issue.
Oh, sure.
Basically, when we did Meet the Alder for the seniors,
Mm,
and
yeah.
I just thought it was a shame that people didn't have the flexibility for transportation, had to leave,
Right.
while the others who did have their cars and everything could stay
Right.
and talk to the alders
Yeah.
after the meeting.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate that, and I think it's something that we really need to really work on, because I think it's the equity issue, and not having that
Yeah, I
transportation.
don't disagree. And the mayor was kind, and I did have money in the budget for transportation, but the problem is the providers aren't available. And so this is just such a dilemma because, even for the National Senior Center Month party, we ended up individually cabbing people because it's hard to hire a bus after 4. You can't really get a contractor between the hours of 10 and 3. It's really a struggle. And again, one size does not fit all. This is obviously a difficult situation for the city and for the senior center. But I do appreciate the mayor's. I know some of the money came out of the budget, but we still have some money in transportation. Cabbing is very expensive, but for some things that we really think is fair to get people to, it's a good thing. But when you look at contracting a bus for $95 an hour for 2 people, it's just a tough call. It's a tough call, and I don't want to be a transportation manager either. So anyway, we keep exploring those options. So.
So with the increased transportation or transit dollars in the referendum, if the referendum passes and we're able to extend the 65 and 75 and open up paratransit, does that change a lot of what you're working on?
I think it will. I mean, paratransit is based on your physical abilities, not financial. The criteria isn't super hard to meet, and it will allow people to schedule their own rides to come to the center.
And I guess what I'm getting at is, does that solve like 50% of your problem or 90% of your problem? Can you estimate that at all?
You know, maybe somewhere in between. I mean, I think short term it's going to solve a lot of the problem because people can call and get their own rides and come and go when they please. I don't really know if paratransit has a time frame where they cut off or if they just follow the bus route, you know, if it's like 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock, you know, because I envision us doing night programs eventually. So I'm not sure about that. I think it'll solve a chunk of our problems, keeping in mind it's only going to go 3/4 of a mile from Sherrill this way. And as the city develops this way, it's going to be an issue. But right now, I think we're going to be able to at least pick up a lot of those folks that are on the northern corridor. I don't know about that route connecting to like Allied Drive or over on the other side of Verona Road. Is it going to solve that? That I'm not sure how that works. If that, you know, that route, all I can see is it comes here, so it'll be able to circle around and get people, but I'm not sure how far over west.
Yeah, I think this will be, we should maybe have this as the topic for transmission transit in the near future.
That'd be great.
We're getting a little
nice.
off topic, so I want to bring us back to the...
Yeah.
Yeah,
be
it's
nice-
a really important conversation,
I
but I
agree.
think we should have it in a different venue.
It'd be nice to see a map and the proposed changes, and then show me the
Where the extension of the Metro
boundaries,
Plus
yeah.
is.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
bring that to the TTC,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
Anything else about the budget? Thank you so very much.
I just have one quick
please,
thing, if you
please
don't
do.
mind. And I know
Yes.
this is kind of against the rules, but not really, Missy. It's not all the way against. I just want to do it out of respect for the Friends, because the Fitchburg Senior Center Friends funded an LTE position this year. Starting in March, you know, it didn't make it into the budget. I went back to the Friends to do, we had requested a 20-hour nutrition site assistant position. And after some negotiation, we got a person to do 15 hours a week for the nutrition site. So out of respect for what they did this year, I hope it's okay if I just take 1 second to say a few words about that position, and also really to just publicly thank the Fitchburg Senior Center Friends for funding that position starting in March through the end of this year. While I did put it in the budget again, I realized that it was not included. Just a few quick notes. From 2019 to 2023, our congregate and home delivered meal program went to 13,240 meals to 16,360. Our Dane County funding went from $28,300 to $54,450. This is a direct reflection of the increase in clients that we're serving. Out of 10 Dane County nutrition sites, we serve the third highest number of meals each week, averaging about 350, but have the lowest number of hours allocated, which is 20 hours. In the meantime, that 20 hours hasn't increased since 2009. And that was the year where we merged the nutrition site management position with the volunteer coordinator position because they were both part-time. And it was just really a advantageous way to keep staff on board to make it a full-time position. But now we're at the point that this essential service, and it really is an essential service, requires direct paid staff in the kitchen daily. And this is what we're finding having this 15-hour person that we hired. We can't expect these volunteers to know all the special needs of all these clients. We've got between 35 and 45 home delivered meals going out a day. That's a lot of special needs that need to be paid attention to. We can't expect for those volunteers to adhere to the county standards that we are required to meet. We can't expect the volunteers to respond to drivers' needs, requests when they come in, when they call about people not being home. And we can't require volunteers to do all of our state data input, which is where our funding comes from, which you have been told by county staff, but it just is so time consuming. We have volunteers do that. And because this position is a merged position, we were able to pull the volunteer hour piece of it to move more towards doing more kitchen stuff, which is causing another challenge. Statistics have shown that since 2019, volunteers have decreased across the nation 7%, but volunteer recruitment is more challenging than ever. And this is because people work longer. The volunteer pool ages that we are trying to attract are now paying for, are dealing with their kids as well as their parents. There's more agencies trying to get volunteers, and agencies that have bigger marketing and social media campaigns can get them a little bit better than some of us that don't have the time. And volunteers, this day and age, it's called micro-volunteering. They want short, sporadic, 1 hour kind of intermittent volunteers. It's just not how it used to be. So to address these, more staff time is needed. And while I realize all departments have critical needs, I completely understand that. And this request is a big funding commitment. I just want to leave you with one fun fact. Since it's budget season, people who volunteer donate 10 times more money to charities, and 60% of those people donate to where they volunteer. So if you award me more staff time, I think I can flip this into a profit. That's all I got to say.
Thank you so much, Jill.
Thank
and
you guys.
Thank you for saying something about the Friends. That's a
Yeah,
huge, that's a huge
thank you for
contribution.
allowing me to do that.
Yeah, thanks,
All right.
Jill. All right, next up is going to be our library. Come on down.
Hello, everyone. All right, so looking at accomplishments from 2024, we both wrapped up our last strategic plan and started working on our new strategic plan. We did some information gathering and brainstorming with staff. We then decided to hold off on it until the city's strategic plan is further along so that we can kind of make sure that we're all going in the same direction. But we'll pick that up again shortly. I hope you have all seen the new and improved Story Walk in McKee Farms Park. We went from some homemade kiosks that were attached to light posts to freestanding aluminum frames and a poured concrete base that should last a good long time. We just recently installed the picture book Mr. S. It's hilarious. You should go see it. We installed, Jill mentioned people counters. So I found at a library conference that I went to in Ohio, found a new vendor for people counters called Facility Site. We've been using kind of real old school beam of light counting technology that we were doing 2 weeks a year that we were our like sample weeks. We use our security gates, and so we would have to use caution tape on the sides and block off part of the entrances and exits. And it was not a great counting method, you know, with the beam of light. If a group of preschool comes in and they're all bunched together, sometimes that just counts as one. So these are sensors that are in the ceiling, and they're giving us an hour-by-hour count of who's coming in. It's fascinating to watch. We're running about 400 people a day consistently, and you can see at any given time how many people are currently in the building. You can bring up charts of hourly how many people we've had come in. It's fascinating. So that I think was a really good investment. We used computer replacement money for that, and we were able to offset the annual cost, the software cost, with something else that we switched that came down. So that worked out really nicely. We just yesterday actually converted the former gallery space on the second floor of the library into a staff conference room. So we put up a wall that is not structural, but that gives some separation so that we can have a staff meeting space. So staff can not use the public conference room quite as much. And we are in the process of reassessing our collection areas based on technology. So probably no surprise, but books on CD are less and less popular, and digital files are more and more popular. So we're kind of trying to make everybody happy by swapping that out a little bit. Coming up for 2025, I'm really excited about this first one. So we're going to redesign the second floor of the library. We are going to take the space that is now the Technology Center, which is a classroom-style computer lab, which nobody really likes to sit in a computer lab with other people, and more people are bringing their own devices, so we don't need as many computers. So we have been shrinking the number of computers in that room for a few years, and what we're going to do is take out most of that wall. We're going to rearrange it more into living room space so that people can still work on the computers. We're not going to eliminate any computers, so they'll just be in a more comfortable setting. We are going to finalize, I think, the structure of the third strategic plan. I would like to go through all of our position descriptions at the library, make sure that we are asking for the requirements that we need, but not more than we need. So we have found over the years that maybe our expectations for qualifications were too high, so maybe taking those back would bring more people into the library field. And then just making sure that we are being specific to each position about what we're requiring as part of the application process. Just hoping to be more equitable, more inclusive, get more people interested in working at the library. And then I anticipate that there will be additional projects that will come out of the strategic plan. All right, so budget changes. None of this is great. I think we've all seen already tonight that it's going to be a tight budget year. Our county funding decreased by $20,000. If you're familiar, we do, all the libraries in Dane County have a cross-municipal, cross-township payment system. So if you are a Fitchburg resident and you check out in Verona, then the Fitchburg Library owes the Verona Library a dollar amount for every item that you're checking out, and vice versa. We are having a lot of Fitchburg residents checking out in Verona and not much of the opposite. And this is across all of Dane County. So, it's more pronounced with our neighboring libraries. But that is kind of a big hit to our budget. The administrative fee to the city has increased due to new positions. That is partially offset by TID funding. I did decrease the utility costs, so we have a new chiller at the library, and our solar array is up and functioning. So I am hoping that that's going to decrease things. This is kind of a gamble. I'm hoping it pays off. And then we are looking to renegotiate our copier contract in 2025. So I think we've got more robust copying systems than we need. So hoping that will go down as well. Questions?
I had no idea about the cost to the city of checking out a book at another location. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing to know.
Yeah, it is. People are consistently surprised by that, and I don't know that we've ever really landed on a good campaign to inform people about that because it's kind of a confusing system.
Yeah.
Check out at Fitchburg. Mm-hmm.
Check out at Fitchburg.
Please, a lot. Check out a lot at Fitchburg. Yeah.
Any questions? Bill?
Do you think some of that is because it's difficult to get to our library compared with others?
Sure. Absolutely. I also think it's not having a school district. I think that a lot of direction to use your library comes from your classrooms. I think there's a lot of signing up for summer reading program that happens automatically in a school district, and we don't have the benefit of that. So yeah, there's a number of things I think that play into it. Transit, I think, would do nothing but help us. So fully on board with that.
Yeah.
And you forgot one more accomplishment. You guys got a new skeleton. 20 foot. Was it 20 feet? 15 feet?
12.
12 feet skeleton. It looks bigger than that.
His name is Skelly O'Kelly, and he has a new dog, if you haven't been by lately. And some new costumes coming. So
Got to come visit
drop
the
by.
Fitchburg Library. Yeah. Couldn't forget that one. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is FACTv. And Jeremy's got a nice
evening,
background.
everybody.
Thank you.
Support the local background. And speaking of library, we're going to be doing a really cool story on that skeleton coming up. So if if you tune in to Talking Fitchburg, you're going to get the exclusive on whatever that skeleton is. I don't even know what it is, but I'm excited to come and film that. And they said I get access to the costume closet, so that's going to be happening. Nevertheless, let's jump into first by just thanking the FACTv staff, second to none, and I mean that truly. The five of us, and really the guys that are coming in and day out, doing the work every single day. It's an amazing accomplishment, and they have kept up with productions and turning stuff around in a quick amount of time. We know we've had some struggles with the council chambers and the other meeting room with the AV stuff, and these guys have been doing everything in their power to keep everything going. So I just really want to thank them because they're the ones that are keeping this going each and every day, and I get to talk about them. That's the best part of my job, is to tell you guys how well it's going. Now we can jump into those accomplishments there for 24. This year, like other departments, we definitely spent some time working on a new, I'm going to say half strategic plan, half marketing plan, and strategy moving forward. We hadn't updated this in quite a long time, so we're in the midst of moving on that. We completed various AV projects, help the senior center with adding a AV system. We added a projector into that space. The infrastructure was there. We reused some of the stuff that we have taken out of other places, and we're able to put that into the dining room, which was awesome. Digital signage is fully up and running now in the senior center, community center, and library. Library jumped on board with us in this the system, so it's nice to see that up and running now. And then our conference room 213 got an AV update as well with a new TV. And that's just helping out with that space. We have a lot more, we'll say Zoom meetings, but you can just say, off-premise meetings with the digital equipment. So it's nice to have that there. And then our partnerships, certainly we have a lot of partners through Talking Fitchburg, but we also do work with the Rowan Area School District and started up a program last year with the kids where they did an after-school news program. Nick and I both came out, both went to the school every other week, and then they came over and did a couple of shows there. So always great to train the youth, and we want to see that as we continue to grow at FACTv as far as programming goes. One of our initiatives within that marketing plan is to grow volunteers and continue to get people interested in media, get them in as volunteers, and hopefully if there's positions open in the future, they would come on board. But the volunteers do help definitely with our community coverage, and looking forward to expand on that in the future. Other initiatives moving into 2025 would just be moving forward with this marketing plan. So it's got phases in it, so we'll continue to do that. That includes increasing awareness about FACTv, both in-person events throughout the city, probably combined with communications as well. We have been doing half communications, as you know, and we'll continue to support that as well. And then expand community partnerships, always looking for new partners and share information. We have good partnerships with the Chamber, open to do more work with Latino Chamber and others moving forward. And of course, continue all of our community coverage as well as we continue to do day in and day out. As far as changes go for 2025, we had increased fee production service, so just increase the fee overall for production. So we do work outside of FACTv for hire. Franchise fees continue to climb. We know that's continuing, so we'll continue to see declines as that goes on. That is out of our control, but that is has to do with if you buy cable TV, if you're cable cutter or cord cutter, so to speak, you're cutting the franchise fee for the city. So that's been going down steadily, and will probably continue to go, if not get taken away someday. But we'll just see where that goes. And then 6200 was removed. That was actually, and this will be the second year that we've requested, and eventually will have to be done, but closed captioning for our 2 channels eventually will become by law to have it. So the last 2 years we've included in the budget, it's been taken out. I would note that now our system not only does that have that built in there, we have to pay for it, but does offer captioning in other languages. So we would be able to do captioning in Spanish and other languages that will be there. So something we're gonna have to look to in the future on the system we have. It would be basically turn it on and it starts working right away. So that's an important piece when we do decide to move on that. In the meantime, we're doing that through YouTube, so we can upload all our videos and put them on YouTube, and then you can alter the language there to get closed captioning or subtitles in different languages. But I have no control over that, so that's at the mercy of YouTube, and YouTube isn't our end-all be-all video player, so I would just note that. Otherwise, FACTv is there, we're rocking, and we hope to have you all come out on the show soon.
Wonderful. Questions? Great summary. We got no questions here. Thank you so much for your great work.
Fantastic.
We see your staff every single time we're here, and they always are smiling, and so thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate your time.
All right, now we're at the main event. Public Works.
This is the quick one, right?
This is the fastest one of the night. Tim, the floor is yours.
Thank you. For the record, Tim Volker, Director of Public Works, City Engineer. I'll start off with our General Public Works Division. Significant accomplishments in 2024. We updated the Neighborhood Traffic Management Plan, the acronym's NTMP. We created a citywide traffic and transportation map. We increased the number of traffic studies, performed more design work in-house, increased resurfacing of our city streets by 25% due to projects not being completed the past 2 years, increased our surface maintenance projects, that's our crack seal and chip seal projects, from past average by about 10 times. And we created a new form for the right-of-way permits, designed and bid our Fitch-Rona Road from Tonto Trail to Nesbitt Road, and then designed and bid our Sain Road from East Sherrill Parkway to McCoy Road. Notable initiatives for 2025, we developed a detailed pavement maintenance strategy, looking to perform an automated in-house bike and pedestrian counts, develop a citywide Vision Zero program as part of the Safe Streets for All grant application, looking to reconstruct Fitch-Rona Road from Tonto Trail to Nesbitt Road, looking to reconstruct Sain Road from East Sherrill Parkway to McCoy Road, and looking to perform preventative maintenance on approximately 15 miles of roads. Significant budget changes from 2024 to 2025. We added streetlight traffic data collection for $13,600. This is traffic data software that will give data on the entire city. So instead of us or staff going out and setting up vehicle counts during the week and waiting for a week or 2 weeks for the traffic study counts to come back, we can utilize this traffic software that gets its data from the connected vehicles data, and we're able to access it from our desktop, so we're not spending staff time to go out and put up these counters, and we're able to do certain durations, times with this data, so it's a lot more efficient with our time. Another thing we're looking to change from 2024 to 2025, we added an Outlook message save for $200. This allows staff to archive relevant project emails more efficiently. Reduced our vehicle mileage reimbursement to $500 because staff does not utilize all the available mileage. Really, we try to have staff utilize the vehicles that we have provided for public works in lieu of having them take their personal vehicles to conferences or to the site for construction inspection. We reclassified $4,750 of the electric vehicle charging budget to the building budget based on recent costs, and then we increased our poles and light replacement stock budget from $15,000 to $17,800 due to the poles being more expensive to replace, and then we also increased the accident recovery revenue from $12,000 to $13,000 to account for this increase when the incidents are recoverable by a responsible party.
Tim, you didn't have any more staff between 2023 and 2024, right?
We did not.
That is bonkers. Wow. Well done. Questions?
Yeah.
Bill.
2 questions. So in the accomplishments and goals for 2025, I don't see the Wayland Road shoulders in that list. Can you remind me what the current status of that is and what the timeline is?
So the current status is it's under design. We just identified the properties that we need to get the temporary easements for regrading of the ditch along the roadway. We're looking to bid that this winter and then start construction next year. So that would be, I guess, another notable initiative would be construction of the bike lane project on Wayland.
Okay. I just want to make sure that didn't somehow drop off the radar.
No, we're still moving forward with that.
Yeah. The second question I had was regarding the streetlight software. That, if I recall correctly, is data that is only provided by cars that have the relevant technology. Do we have any idea whatsoever what fraction of cars within the city will be participating in that and whether it's representative of everything overall.
It is representative overall. Another thing, we are keeping the counters, so I think that the first thing we'll do is, kind of pull up a test section of the area and kind of compare what we actually see to that. I know Ross has utilized some of that. He's reached out to the MPO. They utilize that streetlight data, and he's looked at it and he feels pretty confident in the numbers and has sat in on meetings with the company and gone through kind of how they get their data and what they do for statistics and all that. Feels very comfortable.
Are you able to explain at a high level what kind of technology is involved in like model years and or features that the car would have to have?
No, I do not know that info.
Be a good TTC subject.
That would be. I can relay that to Ross to have that as an upcoming topic.
I've got an email draft regarding the paratransit and the transit extension, so maybe I'll just make it into a list.
Mm-hmm. Anything else, Bill? Seeing nothing else, we can move on to the next section, refuse and recycling.
So for refuge and recycling, significant accomplishments in 2024, we explored the feasibility of organics collection program within the city, and we issued the request for proposals for the citywide collection services starting in 2025. Then notable initiatives for 2025, we're looking to work with Dane County to expand food waste diversion opportunities within the city. And then significant budget changes from 2024 to 2025. Yard waste grinding increased from 20,000 to 30,000 to accommodate the increased yard waste volumes at the drop-off site and to provide for additional grinding for brush collecting by city crews resulting from storm damage. Our refuge collection increased from $559,500 to $655,350 to reflect the rates outlined in the 2025-2029 solid waste contract. And then the recycling collection decreased from $453,000 to $344,640 to reflect rates outlined in the 2025-2029 solid waste contract due to the removal of the unlimited recycling option. And then yard waste collection increased from $85,000 to $119,050 to reflect rates outlined in the 2025-2029 solid waste contract. This assumes that an additional yard waste collection will be added in the fall.
Thank you. Questions on this? Seeing none, we can move on to transit.
Significant accomplishments in 2024 for transit. We coordinated new and existing transit routes throughout the city, continued to coordinate with Madison Metro Transit on the Bus Rapid Transit project, installed 23 new ADA accessible bus stop pads, installed 7 new bus shelters, and executed a new partner agreement for Metro Transit service. And then notable initiatives for 2025, we continued design work on the Bus Rapid Transit project, and we enhanced the transit and paratransit bus service if additional funding is provided through the referendum. And then the significant budget change from 2024 to 2025, Madison Metro Transit subsidy increased to show the projected cost based on the revised intergovernmental agreement.
Questions? Seeing none, we can move on to water and sewer.
Significant accomplishments in 2024 for water and sewer. We designed and bid the well 12 drilling. well 12 pump house, Tower D, and our PLC replacements and reservoir tower improvements project. We implemented the unidirectional flushing program, replaced 1.5-inch and 2-inch meters, installed water main and sanitary sewer in the 4th edition of Terra Vesta Phase 1, Highfield Reserve Phase 3, Hartung, Inspiration of Swan Creek, and Oak Meadow Reserve. Completed cross-connection inspections, worked on the design of the Cyene Interceptor extension and the McCoy Interceptor, completed the Fish Hatchery Road and Well 12 sanitary sewer lining, replaced water main on Fish Hatchery Road at the 9 Springs Creek Crossing, and completed well maintenance and treatment at Wells 4 and Well 10. Notable initiatives for 2025, we're looking to drill well number 12, construct the well number 12 pump house, Tower D, PLC replacements, and reservoir tower improvements, finish installation of the 1.5-inch and 2-inch meter replacements, if not completed in 2024, replace the water main at the west end of Crescent Road to the city limits, construct the McCoy Interceptor and Cyene Interceptor extension, install water main and sanitary sewer in the 4th edition of Terra Vesta Phase 2, Highfield Reserve Phase 4, 7th edition of 9 Springs, Thermo Fisher, and Wingra, and install water main on Fitch-Rona Road and Cyene Road, Phase 2. And then lastly, looking to complete a sewer rate study to ensure rates are sufficient to cover anticipated expenses.
Mike.
Sewer rates aren't on the same schedule as the water rate?
They are not.
What's the difference? Is it?
And Misty, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, the sewer isn't under the direction of the PSC. Is that kind of the reason for the not having it on that schedule?
Exactly. So the water utility is regulated, so there's a lot more specific requirements. For the sewer utility, we look at rates kind of in two pieces. One, under ordinance on the first of every year, we pass on whatever increase we get from MMSD. Okay. That's just kind of done administratively. What this is talking about is looking at the non-MMSD charges and making sure that that portion of the rate is sufficient to cover the cost for the sewer.
Thank you.
Yep.
Significant budget changes from 2024 to 2025 in water and sewer. Master plumber LT hours removed for 2025 as all of the meters were replaced or anticipated to be replaced in 2024. We decreased the maintenance of wells below ground by $45,000 due to no planned specific maintenance in 2025. We increased the power purchased for pumping by $38,000 due to increasing energy costs. Decreased the well house maintenance by others by $38,000 due to less planned maintenance in 2025. Increased the maintenance of transmission and distribution mains by others by $25,000 for increased valve box adjustment costs, increased emergency water main repair costs, and to add diggers hotline costs. Increased the maintenance of meters repair supplies by $10,000 for utility supplied meter horns for 1-inch and smaller meters. Allocated 50% of the census cost for meter reading to the sewer budget. Increased the admin fees by $67,700 due to increased costs billed to the utility by the city for general staff time. Increased taxes by $150,000 due to increasing infrastructure and associated city taxes. Increased other operating supplies and expenses by $156,000 due to MMSD rate increases. Increased maintenance of collection system by $37,000 for additional sewer lining costs and for lateral install replacement costs. Lateral costs are not capital costs. Increased maintenance of collection system by $30,000 to include diggers hotline locate costs as well as sewer structure maintenance costs completed as part of the resurfacing project. Increased the depreciation expense by $25,000 based on plant values within the utility. And lastly, just a couple fee schedule changes. We updated the water impact fees based on E&R construction cost index, added a $105 meter fee for meters 1 inch and smaller for the cost to provide a meter horn. And sewer rates are expected to increase due to the pass-through of costs from Madison Metro Sewage District, exact amounts to be determined.
Sorry, I don't know. What's a meter horn?
So the meter horn is the plumbers can pull in, basically when they install the internal piping, they'll leave a space, they put the meter horn in there, and then we can come in and install the meter, take out the meter horn and install the meter without having to reconfigure any of the internal plumbing.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Shoehorn for a meter.
Exactly.
Yes, that's what it is, yeah.
So with the uncertainty around the sewer district fees, how do we account for that in the budget? Is that an omnibus amendment or is that not? Yeah.
So the increase in the fee that we charge to our customers based on MMSD is just done automatically through the ordinance. So if you look at the fee schedule at the end of the budget, it's just highlighted because we don't know what that amount is yet. But we didn't estimate enough for the MMSD charges, so I do need to work with an alder to do a budget amendment, a proposed amendment to increase that cost as well.
Okay. Thank you. Bill, or sorry, Dave.
One last thing. Tim, where does, say we throw a bearing on one of our pumps or something, we get bacteria or something. Where does that, that emergency maintenance money, is that in one of your pools you showed up here? Or a lot of times I think it's a budget amendment to pay for those.
There should be a maintenance account we utilize for the pumps. And I know there's like maintenance of lift stations, so if it's a lift station pump, it would be in there.
That's fine. Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing nothing further, I think we can move on to the stormwater utility.
So in stormwater significant accomplishments in 2024, we developed a proactive maintenance plan for stormwater infrastructure, and we updated our stormwater utility maintenance plan, completed stormwater quality model for the TMDL, completed permitting for the Area H regional basin, completed construction of the Greenway Cross Storm Sewer Extension Project, and worked with the Department of Natural Resources on phosphorus reduction projects. Then notable initiatives for 2025, we're looking to complete the Crescent Road Stormwater Improvement Project, complete the Fitch-Rona Road Goose Lake Stormwater Improvement Project, complete the Schuman Drive Storm Sewer Upsizing Project, complete dredging and repairs to the Quarry Hill Pond and Techlands Infiltration Basin, obtain the Urban Non-Point Construction Grant for Water Quality Improvement Project, and then review rates for a possible rate increase. Significant budget changes from 2024 to 2025. We added a reclassification of a senior project engineer to a principal engineer. And specifically, this would be for Ben Schulte.
Wonderful. Great to see all these promotions. I love that. Any questions? Seeing none, I think we can jump to buildings and grounds.
Significant accomplishments in 2024 for buildings and grounds. We installed the library chiller. We replaced the entrance flooring at City Hall and Senior Center, attended several of the hub building design meetings, and attended a new police services facility initial design meetings. Notable initiatives for 2025, we're looking to replace the boiler at City Hall, replace the air handler and condenser at the community center, develop a staffing plan for the hub building custodial and maintenance services, continue attending the police facility design meetings, and develop a staffing plan for the police facility custodial and maintenance services. And significant budget changes from 2024 to 2025 for buildings and grounds. We added a new permanent full-time custodial position to support the hub and maintenance facility, which was planned by council within the 2024 budget. We removed prior year one-time purchases, including $8,500 from the maintenance facility budget, $4,800 from the city hall budget, and $4,000 from the community center budget. We added $7,500 for door openers at City Hall. These are the handicap openers for the main entrance. The current system is obsolete and not always working. This would upgrade the doors to electric openers. And then we added $7,000 for the boiler exhaust replacement in the community center. This is to replace the current boiler exhaust since it has several leaks and needs replacement. And then we added operating costs for the hub in the amount of $52,000, which was planned by council within the 2024 budget.
Dave and then Bill.
There's a reason why we, for this custodial, that we aren't looking to have a contract with, cleaning service to take care of that instead of hiring another city employee. And it's not fair to you. I guess I'm maybe back to Misty, or maybe you want to address it.
From a staff, from a public works standpoint, it does help out. We've had some of our custodians, especially this year, hit with FMLA, where they've been out extended periods of time, so that this person would be able to come and float these other buildings while someone is out either on vacation or medical leave. In addition, our public works maintenance facility has not been maintained for several years, and this person would also be maintaining that building. Currently, we're having our streets maintenance workers, utility maintenance workers, and parks maintenance workers, clean toilets and bathrooms and not repair our streets and water mains.
So you had said we're going to replace the boiler at City Hall, or is it a boiler at City Hall? How can you say a little more about? I'm just wondering if we can start a transition towards heat pumps rather than fossil burning furnaces and boilers.
There would be a lot more upgrades required for a heat pump. The boiler, I believe it was just one boiler at City Hall. I'm unsure of the age of that, but I can get more specifics from Kevin, our building supervisor.
Okay. Yeah, I guess it would be nice if if we could start a plan to move existing buildings off of fossil fuels, and I don't know if that can be, potentially worked into a larger geothermal system that would feed both the new police facility and neighboring buildings on this side of the street, or what sort of feasibility, anything like that could have. And then one question about the, piggybacking on the custodial position there. At the Public Works maintenance facility, is that like the duties for the janitor there, is that like standard stuff, or is there like, specialty cleanup because there's machine shop in there or something?
No, the machine shop would be cleaned up by the staff that utilizes the shop. It would be more just the general, kind of kitchen area, the bathrooms, locker room facilities, just those
standard
areas.
Stuff that you could easily contract with.
Could.
Nothing special there. Okay.
Any other questions? Well, are we all done for Public Works?
I believe we are.
Yeah. Nicely done. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And then we can move on to, I believe, finance.
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 Yep. And I have a lot of random stuff under my section, so this will be all over the board.
This will be fun.
So for significant accomplishments during this year, we are in the process of working with a consultant to identify a possible new payroll provider that better meets the needs of local government employers and hopefully streamlines our entire process, but the biggest goal being to get the police department off of paper timesheets. That hasn't been successful so far. So really hoping that that will make a big improvement on that process. Also worked with you guys all, the council, administration, and the consultant to provide information about the levy limit referendum in November. There was those new maintenance of effort requirements that we needed to comply with, so kind of learning about those and then making sure that we comply. We did draft a new accounts receivable write-off policy and then coordinated our first batch of write-offs since the early 90s, which has been a big process for the treasurer in particular. We are actively in union negotiations. We issued an RFP for audit services for the next 5 years, 3 years officially, and then a 2-year extension. You'll see that referred out next week. We are working with administration about a police impact fee to partially fund the new facility. That, if recommended, would come through council again before it's implemented. And then one of our staff, the accountant, is working on his certified public finance officer certification. He's passed, at this point, 6 of the 7, but we expect his 7th one to get passed in the next month or so. So pretty big accomplishment for him in particular. Notable initiatives for next year for kind of finance proper. So now that we've gone through the accounting software upgrade, we've done the debt book leases, software, and then we're doing payroll. Next step then would be budget software. So looking at our options there for CIP, personnel budgeting, and then operating budget. This 502-page document takes a lot of time to put together, and it's a very manual process. So we're hoping with some additional software we can streamline that, not just for finance, but also for all of the department heads as they're putting together their information. Continue with the implementation of the new payroll software. At this point, we're hoping for an April 1st start with the new provider. And then look at our financial policies and consulting with Ellers, the financial advisors, see if we should modify any of them based on terminology or other best practices that are available.
What was the software we approved for you with the COVID money that we got?
That's what.
Is that
so it's not technically COVID money, it's the TID closure money instead.
Okay.
But that's part of this. So we've done a variety of different softwares with that funding.
Okay.
This is the next stage.
All right. Thank you.
Significant changes. So this will cover revenues across the general fund and then also transfers and some of the other things too. So it's not necessarily finance, but our shared revenue increase, we did get a 2.3% increase. This is on both our original shared revenue amount from last year, but also that supplemental shared revenue that we got last year. Each year, those will be increased based on state sales tax and use tax revenues. So this year it was determined to be 2.3%. It's about $30,000 increase in our aid. Exempt personal property. So as of this year, personal property is fully repealed. There's no further personal property tax bills going out. As part of that, the state agreed to backfill that quote unquote lost revenue so that didn't have to get pushed on to the other taxpayers. So that was about $333,000 increase in revenue to make up that difference. Our general transportation aid from the state also increased about $223,000. That's based on a 6-year average cost into our transportation system. And so we've been continuing to invest pretty heavily in our roads, which is resulting in this increased aid from the state. The exempt computer aid and exempt personal property aid from the former TID 15 that was closed this past year shifted over partially into the general fund. So that was about another $13,000 that came into the general fund. On the finance expense side, so we are expecting to increase the number of tax bills in total as we continue to grow, but it is offset partially by that decrease in personal property tax bills that will no longer be going out. In the finance department, as well as many other departments throughout the budget, but we only included it as significant here, is that we are allocating a cost of our copier lease, our central copier lease, to each one of the departments that use it based on usage. So that's showing up in the budget for the first time in those departments. The employee retirement reserve payout, so this is when an employee retires, they can convert their sick leave into insurance payments or a lump sum cash payment, change or reduce that amount from $200,000 to $150,000 based on the current schedule of retirements and those that are expected. And I'll mention that's not funded with direct property taxes, it's with assigned fund balance from other year budgets. We did decrease the unallocated contingency. So you've heard Tim talking about the hub custodian and the hub operating costs. Council set aside that amount of money and put it in that unallocated contingency last year so that we knew it was available for this coming year. So then we dropped that money back out. So we went from the $127,500 to $25,000 for unallocated contingency. We added $86,000 of designated contingency. So if you remember, there was the assessment claim settlement that recently went through, and then we had a couple other smaller ones that were approved by council. Our share of that reimbursement of taxes can be used as a levy limit adjustment if we levy in order to pay ourselves back for it. So this $86,000 is to reimburse the general fund back for those tax claims that had to go out, and then there's a levy limit adjustment dollar for dollar to account for that. So taking this out won't allow you to spend it somewhere else. It has to be spent on this particular purpose. Also decreased transfers from the capital projects fund from $3.1 million to $1.1 million. That is just based on the adopted capital improvement plan. This amount is that piece that we will adjust in order to make sure we fully qualify for the expenditure restraint program. But as of right now, what's in there is the full amount in the adopted CIP. And then similar, there's a almost $1 million transfer from general fund balance to the capital projects fund in order to account for those future gaps in expenditure restraint incentive aid, also based on that adopted CIP. So these are just transfers between the different funds. So I will pause.
Regarding the shared revenue, I feel like the city's population has grown by about 1,000 in the last year, which is like 3%. Sure. And I'm just wondering how the shared revenue, so it's based on the sales tax, but is it doled out like on a per capita basis, or is it just cities of a certain size get a certain amount, that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there used to be a complicated formula, but they froze that many, many years ago. So I guess there's multiple components. Our main shared revenue amount has been flat for a very long time. We got an additional amount when we took over the town, so we got their share, but other than that, it's been really flat. The supplemental shared revenue is that new money that we received from the state that did have a component to it based on population and other type items. So that's where we got $800,000 last year for that. But those two amounts then are basically set other than whatever inflationary amount will be provided through the state sales tax. There's also a utility aid component, and then ERIP is technically a shared revenue too. Those are slightly different. So not at all based on population going forward.
I have a question about the personal property tax aid. Is that an annual fee going forward, or is that a one-time?
It is annual going forward. So once the personal property tax bills are no longer being collected, the state is basically backfilling that hole. If they wouldn't have done that, all of those personal property bills that we are no longer sending out would have to be spread across all of the other property owners. So it's a one-time backfill, but then it's flat going forward.
Okay.
Misty, can you give me, what would be something that would be, that bill would go out for?
Yeah, so the classic example of personal property is it's commercial buildings that have stuff inside.
Okay,
so
understood.
You think of, even if you own your own business, in theory, you should be submitting a personal property bill for the stuff within your home.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Next section.
Let's move on.
So the next section I have is the ARPA funding. So this funding was received from the feds. We have to have everything under contract by the end of this year and then spent cash out the door by the end of 2026. So significant accomplishments for 2024 is we did complete that alternate compliance exam for 2023, which came back clean. And then for 2025, hopefully we'll do our final grant reporting and then close out the grant. 2024 to 25 significant adjustments or significant changes. There's nothing included in the 2025 budget at this point because, again, it has to be under contract as of the end of 2024. Staff will be bringing forward a budget amendment resolution for an amount of money we expect to be available to spend on projects. So you'll see that in the near future with our proposed use for that little bit of money that's expected to be left. I'll just move right along. The TID closure excess increment. So this is the other fund that's connected to our investment plan. One-time money when the TID closes. If there's extra money available with the TID, within the TID, it gets shared amongst all of the overlying jurisdictions. And so we've gotten the benefit of a decent amount of money from the closures of 4 and 6 and 15 recently. I don't have any accomplishments or initiatives for 2025, but for 2024 to 25, the significant changes. We did reinstate certain projects from the investment plan that were delayed during the last year's budget, and then some of those projects were further delayed to 2026. You can see the detail in the additional pages in here. There were some projects that were newly identified with the CIP. We added those into the budget, but then delayed certain ones of those as well to 2026. We added, this is a new thing that was not in the investment plan. So in the investment plan was a consultant to help us with the comprehensive plan update, realizing we need additional funds for the actual printing and notices. So we added $10,000 to that budget line for that. And then there was $2,500 in the general fund for emerald ash borer treatment. Because we have, I think it's $135,000 in tree replacements due to emerald ash borer in the TID closure funding, we moved that treatment into that same funding too, to help put it all into one spot. I'll pause.
I think we move on. For
debt service, so significant accomplishments for 2024. We did issue $8.8 million in general obligation notes this year. That was to fund fire equipment and then a portion of the new police services facility. And then, of course, the big news, which we will share as many times as possible, is our AAA rating. Very proud of that, which is the highest rating available from that third-party rating agency. Notable initiatives for 2025, we need to do the 5-year arbitrage report for our 2020 debt issuance to make sure we complied with all of the IRS requirements. And then we're expecting to issue about $30 million of debt for various road projects and the new police services facility if the project moves forward as budgeted. I'll say I'm planning to borrow that at the second half of 2025, so there's no principal or interest payment in the 2025 budget for that at this point, just due to timing. Significant changes. We did increase transfers into the debt service fund from the various TIDs, basically just to be based on what the payment schedules were, and then decrease the use of premium to pay for interest based on the funding that was available, increase principal and interest expenses in total based on those required payment schedules for the new debt that was issued, and then all of our future debt at this point, I plan to do notes instead of bonds, even if the project technically qualifies for bonds. The state changed the law at the beginning of this year, which allows notes to be done for 20 years as well, but with a much reduced administrative burden. So going to go to the notes route instead to save us some admin time, but still be able to issue over the 20 years.
Class of people that are buying notes versus bonds. You gotta excuse my ignorance of.
Yeah, and to be honest, I don't really know what it necessarily is either. So we will a lot of times, if we borrow projects that were eligible for bonds with some projects that weren't eligible for bonds, we would have 2 technical issuances, but we would issue it to one underwriter. So once it's out of my hands, I don't necessarily know what the difference is, but for us,
It's
big difference.
easier for you to administer notes, though, is what I mean.
Yes, yeah, because they're much more flexible. Bonds have to be spent on certain things with much more restrictions about how fast and all of that. So
Thank
much
you,
easier. Next one is the Capital Projects Fund. So this is based nearly completely off of the adopted CIP that y'all just adopted a couple months ago. So significant accomplishments for 2024 is we did create those more accurate building system replacement fund projections and supporting documents. You saw some pretty significant changes in those particular projects. And for 2025, we want to do the same thing for the parking lots. So we have a better inventory of all of our parking lots and get a better handle on what all of those costs are. And then the same for park equipment. I want to get a better inventory and understanding of what those costs are going to be. Significant budget changes. So under ordinance, council adopts the CIP. The mayor then, if they change what is included in the proposed budget versus what was in the adopted CIP, has to identify those projects specifically. So we are doing that here on this page. So CIP 3450, the traffic calming, we delayed that to 2026. CIP 3520 was the Basswood closure project. We removed that completely because Sub-Zero will be taking care of that as part of TID 18. CIP 6266, this is the park projects funded by park fees from new development. Last year we delayed $142,000 of phase 1 for the ag park from 24 to 25. We haven't gotten any additional funding, so we're delaying that again from 25 to 26. And then phase 2 of the egg park for $250,000 was also delayed to 2026 or later, all based on the funds that are available. And then CIP 9999 is our expenditure restraint aid. For CIP, we just plop it into a bucket. For the budget, I specifically assign it to different projects. So those are all specifically delineated now in this document. And then I also wanted to note a clerical correction I made to the adopted CIP. So in that same 6266 project, which is those future park projects based on developer fees, we identified the $142,000 being delayed last year in the narrative, but I didn't correctly include it in the numbers. So just wanted to call that out here too, that we did correct that clerical mistake. Keep cranking.
Yeah, move on.
Next is the TIDs. So we have a fair amount of TIDs that are open at this point. For accomplishments for 2024, we did complete the 100% spend down and the termination audits for the TID 15, or the former town TID number 2. We created TID number 18, which is near Seminole Highway, and we purposely did that pretty quickly because there was a law change that impacted the levy limit benefit for TID closures, so made sure to get that done before that law change happened. Also participated in negotiations for a TID incentive for the Sub-Zero corporate building, as Mike C. talked about earlier. We issued expect to issue the PAYGO document, the bond itself, to Ocala Springs and the Arlo mixed-use building. They haven't been issued yet, but we expect to do that by the end of the year. And then we worked with the state to recalculate the TID base values now that that personal property has been fully repealed. We didn't want the TIDs to be harmed by that change. So we worked with the state to restate that base value. Notable initiatives for next year is that Sub-Zero corporate building. Hopefully we'll be able to issue that PAYGO once the project is complete. Significant changes, we did create the new fund for that newly created TID number 18. Personal property taxes were repealed. So with the 2015 budget too, the TID revenue from taxes is expected to decrease, but the TIDs also received that state aid to kind of backfill that difference there. The TID 9 interest on advance was removed because they paid off all of that remaining advance. We continued the Buxton software, as Mike talked about earlier, and there was an allocated portion to those 4 TIDs that are identified. Increased principal and interest expenses based on the external debt payment schedules. And then we included the capital projects from the adopted CIP, except as described on the capital projects fund summary. Then I just have one more. So this is the insurance fund. So for 2024, we did settle that AMC assessment claim for 21 and 22. We moved the trailers from auto insurance to contractors' equipment through the property insurance in order to receive better coverage at a better price. It was a win-win. And thanks to Kim in my office for identifying that option and then seeing that through. Saves the city some money. And then they reconvened the safety team in order to discuss the immediate safety concerns, including emergency notification system and then planning for an upcoming active shooter training. 2025, we've been talking for many years about if we should do an RFP again for insurance services. We're at least going to leave it on the list as an option. I'm not sure if we will pursue it or not, but we will continue to consider whether or not it's the right time to issue an RFP. And then the safety team will be working on safety assessments and identifying training needs for city staff. Significant changes, workers' compensation insurance decreased overall due to the lower premium rates, but it was partially offset by increasing wages. The bigger news in workers' comp is our mod factor. It increased from 1.03 to 1.2, which was pretty significant. That alone was a $50,000 increase to our workers' comp premium. And it will probably stay high, if not go up a little bit higher next year, because it's based on a 3-year average of actual claims. Increased the insurance premiums based on the insured values and then expected increases in rates, including the construction of the new hub facility. I added the liability dividend revenue. We have been getting a dividend every year, so wanted to account for that now that we've gotten some history there. And then last one, we did add just over $1,000 for a new property insurance coverage type for utility meters. This would cover the cost of replacing the utility meters themselves if they were damaged due to certain items. And it's considerably less expensive than scheduling the meters under the property in the open option. So it's a new coverage line, but we took the coverage strategy based on what was the most financially responsible. That's all I have.
What's a mod factor?
Yeah, so a mod factor, it's modification factor. So workers' compensation, the state sets the rates by class. So we've got a handful of classes. Police officers have their own class, firefighters, water, general, clerical, that stuff. The state sets the rate for everybody. So all police officers across the state pay the same original rate. But then that mod factor is applied based on each municipality's experience with actual claims. So we've had a couple of really big claims that have caused our mod to increase. So you take whatever your calculated rate is and multiply it by that factor. So if we paid $100,000 last year, we had to multiply that by 1.03. This year, we have to multiply it by 1.2. This is unusual for the city to be over 1. So 1 is kind of the average. We had always been much lower than that, but lately it's been ticking up. Mm-hmm.
Other questions?
I had one question from the previous section.
Sorry.
In 30 seconds, high-level difference in TIDs between, September 30th and October 1st.
As far as the creation?
Well, what are the major? You said we rushed to get one in because it's more advantageous to us.
Yep.
In what respect?
Yeah, so that was part of the big law change this last year when we got the additional shared revenue. They also changed the levy limit law. So as of right now, our net new construction includes net new construction that happens within the TID. So you kind of get the benefit of the TID there. And then when the TID closes, half of the TID increment has to go towards property tax abatement, lowering your tax rate. The other half can be spent by the municipality through a levy limit adjustment. So that's kind of the old way. And because we created that TID by that magic date, we get those old way rules. The new way rules is you only get, I think it's 50% of the net new construction within the TID you get credit for right away. And then when the TID closes, if it closes on time, you get the other 50% at that point, and if you close early, you get a little bit of a bump, but it doesn't account for all of the appreciation of the value within the TID during that time. So a few different moving pieces, much more advantageous from a levy limit perspective under the old rules. I don't think that was 30 seconds, but I tried.
All right, I'm seeing it go quiet. So we have finished our agenda for the current day. We are going to recess till tomorrow, and we will finish the rest of the department reports starting at 6 p.m. tomorrow, Wednesday, October 2nd. I will take a motion to recess from the committee.
I move we recess until tomorrow.
Second that motion.
Moved by Alder Wheeler. All in favor, and it's just Finance Committee, Dave. All in favor of recessing until October 2nd at 6 p.m., say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are recessed. Thank you.